Kia ora, ko Smith aho. Nā mai ki te whare, welcome to the House. Parliament has now finished its second sitting week of the year, and so far it's been dominated by a single piece of business, a lengthy set-piece debate on the Prime Minister's statement. The purpose of that statement is to set out the government's plan for the year. The debate that follows it is intended as an examination of that plan. And after 13 hours of that, it ends with a vote over whether Parliament continues to have confidence in the current administration. Well, that's the idea anyway. The debate ended on Wednesday evening, and surprise, surprise, the government retains the confidence of the majority of the House. Despite the duration, the debate receives scant attention, so here's a taster of its themes and variations, as demonstrated on its final day.
Growth, growth, growth. That's what this government is about. I'll say it again, growth, growth, growth.
Nationals MP for Northland, Grant McCallum, nicely boiled it down. It had been the Prime Minister's focus, and all National MPs kept to that theme. Their colleagues from ACT and New Zealand First did as well, though often with a little bit more specificity. From ACT, Nicole McKee.
One of the things that we're going to do in the first instance, Mr Speaker, is make sure that we remove the three confusing bodies that are meant to give advice to our businesses and make it just one.
National MPs did also sometimes get into the specifics, though mostly it was about things done last year, not plans for this year. While government MPs are expected to discuss the future, opposition MPs have the task of critique. Kushla Tangaire Manuel.
But so underwhelming was the Prime Minister's statement, it almost isn't worth rebutting. They say it's about growth.
A lot of that opposition critique was also on the theme of growth. Duncan Webb.
The fact of the matter is that we handed over an economy that was growing, an economy that had 2.4% growth per annum. And how much growth has this government had? None. They have gone backwards for every single quarter. The economy under this government is in recession.
The pattern in these multi-day debates is that each day begins with opposing heavyweights. Wednesday, for example, began with Chris Bishop, here on growth again, but attacking the opposition.
It's easy to say you're in favour of growth. There's always a but. I'm in favour of growth, but growth's got to be equitable, as if that's a real thing. Growth's got to be sustainable. I'm in favour of growth as long as it doesn't involve foreigners making money. I'm in favour of growth as long as it doesn't involve trading with the rest of the world.
And the opposition heavyweight following Bishop was Kieran McAnulty.
This government is arrogant. It is incompetent. It is disingenuous. It is heartless. And it is cruel.
Notably, during his speech, he employed a creative array of adjectives to sidestep the parliamentary rule that says you can't describe your opponent as a liar. And he didn't. He opted for disingenuous, telling fibs, not true, far from true, not even close to true, misleading, rubbish, and bull. The extraordinary thing is that no one objected. This debate is long enough that most MPs get to speak, and while opposition MPs often speak at length, for government backbenchers, that's unusual, and many took the chance to highlight something from their own electorate while they were there, like Nationals' Miles Anderson.
I'd just like to give a shout out to the Tota estate, which will be celebrating National Lamb Day on Saturday.
Or Nationals' Rima Nakle.
If you're around Takanini, come to Manukau Super Bowl this weekend. Starting on Thursday, we've got the Auckland Lantern Festival. That's going to be absolutely amazing.
So growth was the overriding theme, but the method was often repetition. So we'll end with a few examples of that. Here's National's final speaker, Simeon Brown, with an increasingly common rhetorical device in the House, the call and response.
Yes to things like more tourism, more tourists into the country. What did they say? No. Yes to more farming and backing our farmers. What do they say? No. Yes to more mining. What do they say? No! Yes to more solar, wind and geothermal through our fast-track legislation.
Of course, repetition works both ways. Here's Labour's Arena Williams speaking just prior to Simeon Brown.
The legacy of this one-term government will be saying no to school lunches. It will be saying no to the 2,200 nurses that we need in our health system right now when they are asking for jobs.
Yes and no are not the only words you're allowed to repeat, though. You can use whole phrases. In this case, the rhetorical device, anaphora, the repetition of an opening phrase.
And they tell regions around the country, we don't have money for your hospital, we don't have money to replace your orthopaedic surgeons, we don't have money to replace your birthing unit, we don't have money to fund our roads that we promised, we don't have money to fund houses, we don't have money to fund early childhood education despite our promises. We're going to make it so hard to apply to save ourselves money.
That debate, now ended, was a hefty 13 hours. The result, though, was never much in doubt. You've been listening to The House. E te whakaranga koe ki te whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mā te wā.